Have you ever noticed how the more you try to defend yourself, the more people twist your words? How fighting for truth, respect, or justice only makes you look desperate, while the real offenders walk away untouched? But what if I told you that the moment you stop explaining, stop chasing, stop reacting, karma starts doing the work for you? It's like a snake biting its own tail. The more it struggles, the deeper the wound. But when it stops fighting, nature takes over and healing begins. Or think of an echo in the mountains. What you send out eventually comes right back. That's how karma works. The lies they spread, the harm they cause, it all returns to them in time. Because while they're busy provoking, deceiving, and manipulating, you have a choice. Fall into their trap, or step back and watch as karma writes the final chapter. And when you choose silence, that's when the weight of their actions finally falls back on them. That's when their own energy turns against them. So when do you step back and let karma handle what words never could? Stay with me, because the last one will shift your entire perspective. Let's get started. Number 1. When someone lies about you. Let's talk about one of the most frustrating situations. When someone spreads lies about you. It's tempting to fight back, to clear your name, to make sure everyone knows the truth. But here's the harsh reality. Defending yourself against lies often fuels more drama. The more you react, the more energy you give to the lie. The more you try to explain, the more people start questioning, even if they had no doubts before. Here's the truth. Some people don't care about what's real. They care about the reaction. The person lying about you isn't looking for the truth. They're looking for control. They want you rattled. They want you emotional. They want you caught in a battle where your every move becomes proof that the lie has weight. And if you engage, you're playing their game. This is where Stoic wisdom comes in. Marcus Aurelius once said, "If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it." This is the standard you must hold yourself to. Others may lie, others may deceive, but their actions do not define you. Your response does. Instead of wasting your breath defending yourself against falsehoods, let time and truth reveal everything. Because here's what people forget. Lies have an expiration date. Truth, on the other hand, is timeless. Let me share a story. A man I know, let's call him James, was accused of something at work that he never did. Rumors spread. People whispered. Some co-workers distanced themselves. His first instinct? To go around explaining to everyone, to make them believe him. But instead, he chose silence. He kept doing his work, stayed professional, and let his actions speak. Weeks later, the truth surfaced. The person who had spread the rumors had a history of manipulation. James didn't have to prove anything. The truth revealed itself. And because he never engaged in the drama, his reputation remained intact. So how do you handle this? First, trust in the long game. Lies may spread quickly, but truth lasts longer. Second, focus on your integrity. If you know who you are, the opinions of those who believe lies don't matter. And finally, let karma do its job. People who lie about others eventually expose themselves through their own patterns. You don't need to chase them down. Life will handle it. At the end of the day, your silence is not weakness. It is control. When someone lies about you, don't lower yourself to their level. Stay grounded, stay patient, and remember, the truth always comes out. And when it does, you'll still have your dignity intact. Number 2, when someone betrays your trust. Let's talk about one of the hardest lessons in life, dealing with betrayal. Whether it's a friend who turns their back on you, a partner who breaks your trust, or someone you believed in who lets you down, betrayal stings in a way few things do. The first instinct? Confrontation. You want to demand answers, seek an apology, or make them understand the damage they've caused. But here's the truth. Words won't change a betrayer's nature. If someone was willing to betray you once, chances are they've justified it in their own mind. They've convinced themselves that their actions were necessary, excusable, or even your fault. No amount of reasoning will change that. If you try to explain, they'll twist your words. If you try to make them feel guilty, they'll find a way to make you the villain. That's why walking away in silence is the loudest response. This is where Stoic wisdom comes in. Seneca once said, "A gem cannot be polished without friction, nor a man perfected without trials." In other words, betrayal is painful, but it's also a test. It forces you to grow, to strengthen your boundaries, and to recognize who truly deserves a place in your life. The pain you feel isn't just suffering, it's a lesson. A lesson in self-respect, in detachment, and in letting go of those who were never meant to stay. Let me share a story. A woman I know, let's call her Sarah, had a best friend for over 10 years. They shared everything, secrets, struggles, victories. But one day, Sarah found out that this friend had been speaking behind her back, revealing private conversations, and even sabotaging her opportunities. At first, she was furious. She wanted to confront her, to make her see what she had done. But instead, she chose silence. She didn't argue. She didn't seek revenge. She simply walked away. No explanations, no second chances. And you know what happened? The friend felt the silence. She expected a fight, a dramatic scene, but instead she got indifference. And that silence, it spoke volumes. So how do you handle betrayal? First, accept that some people will never be who you thought they were. The pain comes from expectation. Let it go. Second, do not waste your breath explaining their wrongdoing to them. They already know, even if they won't admit it. And finally, walk away with dignity. Your silence isn't weakness, it's strength. At the end of the day, true power is in detachment. A betrayer thrives on reaction, on guilt, on second chances. Don't give them that. Let your silence remind them that you were never the one who lost. You were the one they should have never betrayed in the first place. Number 3, when someone insults you. Let's talk about something we all face at some point: insults. Whether it's a snide remark, a backhanded compliment, or an outright attack, insults are designed for one thing: to provoke you. The moment you react, whether it's arguing back, defending yourself, or even showing anger, you've given the insulter exactly what they wanted: control over your emotions. Here's the truth. Responding to insults only gives them power. When someone insults you, they're fishing for a reaction. They want to see you upset. They want to feel like they got under your skin. But when you refuse to engage, when you remain calm, unshaken, and indifferent, that is when you win. Because nothing frustrates an insulter more than being ignored. This is where Stoic wisdom comes in. Marcus Aurelius once said, "The best revenge is not to be like your enemy." Think about that. The moment you lower yourself to their level, you've already lost. If they're being petty, cruel, or disrespectful, why give them the satisfaction of seeing you stoop down to their game? Instead, take the higher path, one of silence, self-control, and dignity. Let me share a story. A guy I know, let's call him David, was at a work event when a co-worker, jealous of his recent promotion, decided to take a jab at him in front of others. Wow, Guess they're handing out promotions to just anyone these days. The room went quiet, waiting for David to fire back. But instead, David simply smiled, made eye contact, and said nothing. Just silence. No anger, no defense. And you know what happened? The co-worker looked uncomfortable. He had expected a reaction, maybe an argument, but instead he was left standing there, exposed, while David kept his power. So, how do you handle insults? First, recognize that insults say more about the person delivering them than about you. People who insult others are usually projecting their own insecurities. Second, understand that your silence is your strength. By not reacting, you show that their words hold no weight in your world. And finally, carry yourself with confidence. When you respond with calm indifference, the insulter is left powerless. At the end of the day, you can't control what others say, but you can control how you respond. And sometimes, the most powerful response is no response at all. Because silence, that's the ultimate proof that their words don't define you. You do. If you found this valuable, hit like and subscribe for more powerful insights. Number 4, when they play the victim. Let's talk about one of the most frustrating and manipulative behaviors, people who play the victim. You know the type. They twist the story, conveniently leave out their own actions, and make it seem like they were the ones wronged. It doesn't matter what actually happened. What matters to them is how they can gain sympathy, shift blame, and make others see you as the problem. And the more you try to defend yourself, the more you look like the villain. Here's the truth. Some people don't want resolution. They want attention. They don't care about honesty. They don't care about fairness. Their goal isn't to fix the situation, it's to control the narrative. And if you engage, if you argue, explain, or try to prove your side, you're playing right into their hands. This is where Stoic wisdom comes in. Epictetus once said, "To complain is always non-productive and never appropriate." And that applies perfectly here. When someone plays the victim, they're not looking for solutions, they're looking for an audience. Let karma expose their manipulation. Because the truth, it always comes out. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but eventually, people see patterns. They'll notice how this person always seems to be the victim in every situation. And that's when the act falls apart. Let me share a story. A woman I know, let's call her Rachel, had a co-worker who constantly played the victim. Whenever she was confronted about something, she'd twist the situation and say things like, "I can't believe you'd accuse me of that. I would never hurt anyone." She made sure to cry in front of the right people, making Rachel look like the bad guy. At first, Rachel tried to defend herself. She explained the facts, showed proof, even tried to have a logical conversation. The more she tried, the worse it got. The co-worker thrived on the drama, turning every response into more proof that she was being attacked. So Rachel did something different. She went silent. No more defending, no more reacting. She simply let time reveal the truth. And sure enough, it did. Over time, others started noticing the same patterns. The co-worker played the victim one too many times, and people stopped believing her. The same manipulation tactics that once worked became obvious, and eventually, her credibility crumbled. So how do you handle someone who plays the victim? First, don't argue. The more you try to prove yourself, the more you feed their story. Second, stay calm and detached. Let their own behavior expose them. And finally, trust karma. People who constantly manipulate and twist the truth will always reveal themselves in time. At the end of the day, silence is your power. Let them talk. Let them spin their version. Let them play their game. Because in the end, the truth doesn't need your defense. Time will do that for you. Number 5. When they ignore your worth. Let's talk about one of the most painful but important lessons in life, being undervalued. Whether it's in relationships, friendships, or even at work, there comes a moment when you realize that someone isn't seeing your worth. You give, you support, you show up. But instead of appreciation, you get indifference. Instead of respect, you get taken for granted. And the natural instinct? To fight for their recognition, to prove your value. But here's the truth. Begging for recognition lowers your value. The more you chase, the less they respect you. People don't appreciate what's always available. They don't value what they believe they'll never lose. And that's why silence is your greatest weapon. When you stop proving, stop chasing, and stop trying to make them see your worth, something shifts. Suddenly, they feel the absence of what they took for granted. Silence forces them to see what they lost. This is where Stoic wisdom comes in. Seneca once said, "Time discovers truth." And that's exactly what happens when you walk away with dignity. The truth reveals itself, not through words, not through arguments, but through absence. The people who truly valued you will notice. The ones who didn't, they were never meant to stay. Let me share a story. A man I know, let's call him Jake, was always the one making efforts in his relationships. Whether it was with friends or co-workers, he was the person who checked in, who showed up, who made people feel valued. But over time he noticed something. The effort was one-sided. If he didn't reach out, days, even weeks would pass without a word. If he didn't initiate, no one did. And that's when it hit him. He wasn't being valued, he was being convenient. So Jake made a choice. He stopped chasing. No dramatic exits, no angry speeches, just silence. And you know what happened? The people who truly cared reached out. The ones who only saw him as an option, they disappeared. And that was his answer. So how do you handle being undervalued? First, stop explaining your worth. Your value doesn't decrease just because someone refuses to see it. Second, step back and observe. The right people won't need reminders to appreciate you. And finally, let time do the work. When you walk away with silence, you give others the opportunity to realize what they lost. At the end of the day, you don't need to prove yourself to anyone. If someone can't see your worth while you're there, let them experience your absence. Because sometimes the only way people learn to value you is when they no longer have access to you. If you've watched the video this far, don't forget to leave a comment with a "thank God" and give it a like if you enjoyed the content. Your support means a lot and motivates me to keep creating more interesting videos. I hope you find inspiration in them and that we continue learning together. Thank you for your support. Number 6. When they try to provoke you. Let's talk about one of the most powerful forms of self-control, not reacting when someone tries to provoke you. There will always be people who thrive on conflict. They poke, they prod, they say things just to get under your skin. And the moment you react, whether it's anger, frustration, or defense, you've given them exactly what they wanted: control over your emotions. Here's the truth. People who seek conflict aren't looking for resolution. They're looking for a reaction. They want to see you flustered, upset, or out of character. They feed off your emotional energy because it gives them a sense of power. But when you refuse to engage, when you stay calm, collected, and indifferent, that is the ultimate power move. This is where Stoic wisdom comes in. Marcus Aurelius once said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." You can't control how others behave. You can't stop people from trying to provoke you. But you can control whether or not you let them affect your state of mind. And when you master that, you become untouchable. Let me share a story. A guy I know, let's call him Adam, had a co-worker who loved stirring up drama. Every meeting, every interaction, this co-worker would throw out little jabs, trying to get a rise out of Adam. At first, Adam would defend himself, argue back, and try to explain. But over time, he realized something. No matter what he said, it only made things worse. So one day he tried something different. The next time his co-worker threw a jab, Adam simply smiled, gave a calm nod, and moved on like it didn't matter. And guess what? The co-worker hated it. He kept trying, but without the reaction he wanted, he eventually lost interest. So how do you handle people who try to provoke you? First, recognize their game. If someone consistently tries to get under your skin, it's not an accident. It's a pattern. Second, stay calm and detached. Your silence and indifference will frustrate them far more than any argument ever could. And finally, remember that true strength isn't in reacting. It's in controlling your own mind. At the end of the day, the strongest person in the room isn't the one who yells the loudest. It's the one who refuses to be controlled by anyone else's negativity. When you ignore those who seek to provoke you, you deny them the satisfaction they crave. And that, right there, is real power. Number 7. When they regret losing you. Let's talk about one of the most powerful lessons in life. Walking away and letting someone feel the weight of their own choices. When someone mistreats you, takes you for granted, or fails to appreciate you, there comes a moment when they realize what they've lost. But by then, it's already too late. Here's the truth. If someone truly valued you, they wouldn't have put themselves in a position to lose you in the first place. People don't always recognize your worth when you're there, when you're available, when your presence is consistent. But the moment you're gone, the silence becomes deafening. That's when regret sinks in. That's when they start replaying every mistake, every moment they could have done better. And this is why silence is the best response. You don't need to argue, explain, or remind them of what they lost. Let them sit with the consequences. Let them feel the absence of what they once had but failed to appreciate. Because when you truly walk away with no words, no second chances, no maybe later energy, your absence does all the talking. This is where Stoic wisdom comes in. Epictetus once said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." That means true strength isn't about controlling others. It's about controlling yourself. It's about having the discipline to walk away from those who didn't value you and the wisdom to never look back. Because real power isn't in chasing. It's in knowing when to stop giving your energy to people who never deserved it. Let me share a story. A woman I know, let's call her Olivia, was in a long-term relationship where she constantly felt unappreciated. She gave everything, her time, her love, her support. But her partner? He took it all for granted. He assumed she'd always be there. Until one day, she wasn't. Olivia didn't yell, didn't beg, didn't threaten. She simply left. No dramatic exit, no long explanations, just silence. At first, her partner thought she was bluffing. But then, weeks turned into months, and he realized she was really gone. By the time he reached out, full of apologies and regret, Olivia had already moved on. And that's when he truly felt the loss. So how do you handle someone who regrets losing you? First, don't give them an easy way back. If they only appreciate you after you're gone, they never truly valued you. Second, don't explain your absence. Let them wonder. And finally, remember that real self-respect is knowing when to walk away and actually staying gone. At the end of the day, the best lesson you can teach someone is that once you're gone, you're gone. If someone regrets losing you, let them. Their regret is not your responsibility. Their lesson is not your burden. Walk away, stay silent, and let karma do the rest. If you found this valuable, hit like and subscribe for more powerful insights.